Good morning students. So in the previous video we had seen about the optical network evolution. Now we will see about optical networking technology. So basically in your optical networking technology we are going to have a network where this network is going to consist of number of nodes, and these nodes are going to be connected through an optical fiber. So here the nodes can transmit and receive the information there. So here through this optical fiber the transmission can be done either in a unidirectional way, or it can be done in a bidirectional transmission can be done over the single fiber there, optical fiber. So here if I want to send and receive the messages across your optical network, we have to establish a transmission path to switch or route the messages to their final destinations. So here your networking to network topology. So network topology is nothing but it is a network structure which is going to be formed by interconnection of various nodes is known as the topology there. So where the topology can take the form of a bus, ring, star or a mesh structure. So first we will see the bus topology. Bus topology is nothing but the data is going to the data is going to be generally circulated bidirectional there. So here the data is going to be the input, and it is going to be removed from the optical fiber by using a 4-port coupler there, where this 4-port coupler is going to be located at the end of the nodes. So ring configuration is nothing but the nodes are going to be connected in a ring fashion. So your data is going to be circulated along this ring in a unidirectional way, and it is going to be moved, the data is going to be moved from one node to another node, and it is going to be looped through each nodes. At each coupling point it is going to be repeatedly regenerated in phase and amplitude. So here next topology is going to be an optical star coupler. So optical star coupler is nothing but it is going to form a central hub. So it is going to form a central hub to the network where it can be an active or a passive network there. So here in this case, if I am going to go for a passive operation, the star coupler at the hub is going to split the data in terms of power. So here after splitting the data in terms of power, so that the signal is going to be transmitted to all the nodes there. So when I am going to go for a passive operation, it is going to result in losses there, because it is going to be determined by the number of split of the data. So based on the split of the data, there are going to be the losses that is going to be present in the passive operation. Suppose if I am going to go for active hub, in active hub the data is going to be split into an optoelectronic star coupler there. So which is going to carry out both your optical to electrical conversion and electrical to optical conversion there. Both the process will be done by this optoelectronic star coupler there, and it is not going to be contributing the overall losses, that is the network losses is going to be less than in the case of your active hub. Next configuration is your mesh configuration. So mesh configuration is nothing but a combination of your ring and star topologies there. So here it is going to provide the interconnection between the network nodes. So it is going to be a full mesh network. So when we call it as a full mesh network is when each network node is going to be interconnected with all the other nodes in the network. When it is going to be interconnected with all the other nodes in the network, we call it as a full mesh network. So by going for a full mesh, we can provide that more interconnectivity can be achieved compared to the other three technologies there. So next is we are going to go for optical networks. So these optical networks can be implemented either by using a single topology, or it can be constructed using a combination of multiple topologies there. So in a full mesh topology is going to be a complex one, but it is going to be preferred because it can have the provision of either a logical or a virtual topology there. So because of this logical or virtual topology, it is going to have a high flexibility and interconnectivity features. Next is network architecture. So network architecture is whatever is going to be the network functionalities. These network functionalities are going to be divided for the different layers. So the different layers which is going to be present in the network is going to be called as a reference model there. So in this reference model, it is going to partition the functions. Whatever is going to be the network functionalities, this network functionalities are going to be partitioned as functions which is going to follow a logical methodology there. so that it is going to define the communications task that is going to be set for the hierarchical layers with a standard network architecture there. So each layer in your network architecture is going to perform a set of related functions there, so that the user system can be able to communicate with the another user system or the end user system. So here we are going to have a network, we are going to produce a network which can be physically and operationally interconnected, and so that it can provide a large network capacity and also ensure that there is going to be a network protection or survivability there. So here basically the function of the optical network physical layer is going to provide the necessary routing and switching strategies there within the optical multiplex network. So to do all this, we need your networking modes. So there are two types of networking modes. One is connection oriented or connectionless. So connection oriented is nothing but name itself tells connection. So connection means there is going to be a connection that is going to be established between the two nodes there. That is end-to-end connection setup is going to be done, and the transmission of data is going to be done with the process called a handshaking there. So here it is going to be performed before the transmission is going to take place. So here in a connection oriented network we can employ a bidirectional communication environment, so that we can have the source and the destination can communicate with each other there. So once a path is going to be determined, all the subsequent information, so whatever information we want to transmit and the data what we want to send are going to be sent from the source to the destination or from the destination to the source using this established communication path. Next is your connectionless networking. So connectionless networking mode is we are not going to have any dedicated end-to-end connection there. So in that case, when we don't have any dedicated end-to-end connection, we are not going to have an explicit connection setup is not going to be performed before the actual data transmission there. So how a connection transmission is going to be done is just transmission will be simply launched into the common fiber channel such as the bus or the ring, which is going to interconnect the network nodes. So in a connectionless networking communication mode, what it is going to be achieved by transmitting the information in one direction without confirming whether the destination device is going to be ready to receive the information or not. So whether the destination device is ready or it is available for receiving the information. So in this case, when I want to transmit the data are going to be transmitted in the form of packets, where these packets are going to contain the addressing information and the data, that is the destination address and the control information and the data to be transmitted there. So where each packet will be assigned a unique number there, and these packets will be sent in sequence so that in the destination it can reassemble the packets to construct the complete message. Network switching modes. So the switching can be achieved in different modes. Here we have two primary modes. One is circuit switching and the other one is your packet switching or cell switching. So circuit switch mode, as the name tells, we are going to have an end-to-end circuit is going to be required to be set up before establishing a connection there. So in the source and between the source and the destination, a path should be set up between the source and the destination there. So here in this case, all the network resources which is going to be necessary, that is for switching operation, whatever network resources are going to be utilized, those network resources will be dedicated only for that particular transmission. So during that time, no other devices can use this path for transmission purposes. So here your transmissions are going to be continuous and it is going to arrive in the real time. So once the transmission is complete and it is terminated, the resources will become unavailable for the other devices or other users. So we can say that it is going to be characterized as continuous, selective and temporary. So circuit switching is going to be utilized in connection oriented networks. Next is we are going to go for packet or cell switching mode. So in a packet or cell switching mode, we are going to go for a technology called your store and forward strategy. So store and forward strategy is, as the name tells, whatever is going to be the information messages which you are going to receive in the form of blocks are going to be stored and then it is going to be forwarded to the corresponding destinations. So sending and receiving this complete message in a single block is going to require a buffering stage. So here where the informations are going to be gathered and then it is going to be sent to the destination. So that is, it is going to be stored and then it is going to be sent to the destination there. So your messages, it can be sent in the form of small blocks. So these blocks are going to be called as packets, or even smaller blocks, that is going to be called as cells, and it do not require any such significant buffering stages. So your messages, it can be divided into packets, and these packets can be consist of your variable length blocks of data there. So where we are going to have an upper bound limit or a cell which is going to incorporate the fixed length of the block, fixed length block of data there. So here the packets or cells which you are going to get from many different resources are going to be statistically multiplexed and then sent to the destinations there. So by going for statistical multiplexing, you are going to have a fixed bandwidth communication channel there. So in this fixed bandwidth communication channel, this is going to be divided into several variable channels there. And the the variable channels and the decide of the requested bandwidth is going to be allocated to each user, because each channel is going to consist of different packet data, length of data there. So it is going to consist of different lengths of data. According to the bandwidth requested by each channel, that bandwidth will be allocated and then we will send the data there. So that type of multiplexing is going to be called as statistical multiplexing. So a packet and cell switching is going to be a connection oriented network. So the packets are going to be employed in a connectionless networks. Next is virtual circuits. So virtual circuits is nothing but we are going to have a series of logical connections which is going to be between the sending and the receiving devices there. So the connection between the source and the destination node is going to consist of several routes. That is, we are going to have a number of routes between the source and the destination. So we then change the route from at any time, and the incoming return route is not going to be a mirror of the outgoing route there. So when the connections are going to be set up in advance and based on the unexpected traffic patterns, there are provisions for your virtual circuit. That is, when the path is going to be established, we have decided the path, this is going to be the path from the source to destination. But due to unexpected traffic, what we can do is we can divert the data through other paths. So that paths are going to be called as a provisional virtual circuits there. So in such network, when connections can be set up on demand and it is going to be released after the data exchange is complete, such connections are going to be called as switched virtual circuits. Next is network routing. So network routing is nothing but routing is a process where it is going to find a node nearby so that it can route the data from the source to the destination in a network. So here in this case, when it is going to route the data, we have to go for a process control and data processing functions there. So by using this control and data processing functions, we will be able to identify the route and to handle the data when it is going to be transmitted from the source to the destination there. So the routing process is going to be done in the control plane, where this control plane is going to comprise of 3 stages. One is the neighbor discovery, second one is your topology discovery, and third one is your path selection. So the neighbor discovery is, as the name itself tells, it is neighbor discovery. So it is the first step where when I want to route a data from the source to the destination, my node will find out the nearest neighbor and discover the identity of the nearest neighbor, and then the connections are going to be given to the neighboring nodes there. So we say that the neighbor discovery is nothing but it is the first step where the nodes in the networks are going to be discovered with the identity of their immediate neighbors and their connections to the neighboring nodes there. Next is topology discovery. Topology discovery is nothing but how the nodes are going to be connected in the network and how they are going to be connected in your network is going to be called as your topology discovery there. Once the network topology is known, then we can find the number of paths from the source to the destination. So the number of paths can be determined by using a path computation algorithm or a routing protocol. So we know that the basic definition of a protocol is nothing but it is going to consist of a set of standard rules for the data representation signaling authentication and error detection. So here this protocol, with the help of this protocol, it will be possible for us to send the information over the communication channel there. So the control plane, which is going to acquire and then provide the reachability information throughout the network. So the reachability or the routing information is going to be disseminated. That is, it is going to be broken by it is going to be understood by the routing protocol, and it is going to consist of a forwarding table there at each node. So where each node, that forwarding table will contain the identity of the next node and the outgoing interface, so that it can forward the packets to the each destination there. So to handle the data more efficiently, we are going to go for an additional procedure known as the data plane. So where in this data plane, it is going to allow an optical node to forward the incoming packets towards the destination by the information which is going to be present in the forwarding table there. So the operation of this data plane is nothing but it will examine the destination address of the packet, then search the forwarding table to determine the next hop and the corresponding outgoing interface, and then forward the packets to this next hop. So the modularity and scalability. So modularity is nothing but it is going to define the characteristics of the network. So in this characteristics of the network is which is going to allow your addition or reduction of the networking nodes. So the addition or reduction of the networking nodes is going to be done in a modular fashion. So the modular networks is going to use the wavelengths there. So when it is going to use the wavelengths, we can see that the optical network, we can have the optical network without causing a wavelength conflict there. So that means that when I am going to use the wavelengths, these wavelengths can be reused in different sections, so that there is going to be no interference between the wavelengths. The next property is scalability. So scalability is nothing but it is a property of the network which is going to be progressively to accommodate a large number of nodes on the end user systems without incurring the excessive overloads. So here when I want to have, if the network is going to have a high number of nodes, then the scalability is going to become difficult there, because we have a number of alternative routes are going to be available. Since the number of nodes are going to be high, there are going to be a number of alternative routes are going to be available. So in that case, scalability will become difficult. So the scalability can be achieved in different ways there. So how we can achieve is by employing a routing hierarchy or by performing the route aggregation there. So in this case, both these route techniques, it will contain the size of the routing databases. So here the another common technique which you can use for achieving the scalability is to reduce the number of routing updates using the threshold schemes. Thank you.